And welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 500,000 subscribers. So look, hit subscribe, watch, comment, keep the comments coming, and share with your friends, because I'm going to say it a million times. The stupidity that we have to deal with every day, it's not stopping. I mean, just late last week, Trump and RFK Jr., they hosted an event to go over the MAHA Commission, Make America Healthy Again, and this commission report. And afterwards, RFK went straight to CNN to discuss the findings. Now, the narrative being spread is exceptionally dangerous. But Caitlin Collins asked RFK what he has to say to the families that can't afford to buy healthy food. RFK basically told him, suck it up. Play the clip.
And that is what the report will do in 60 days.
On ultra-processed foods and getting into that here, you were born into a privileged background, obviously not something you can control, but I wonder what you would say to maybe a single mom of 2 kids who's reading this report about how harmful these cheap but very accessible foods are for her family, and saying, well, you know, sometimes that's the best we can do, and that's why that's what's on the food or at the table at the end of the day, or that's what's in their lunchbox.
It's an illusion to think that processed food is cheap, because you end up paying for it with diabetes. You end up paying for it with autoimmune dysregulation, with mitochondrial dysfunction, with inflammation, and you end up paying much higher costs in the long run.
But they're not paying.
There are food deserts in this country,
yeah,
where people at this point have a hard time getting access. I met with the health technology companies this week, and it was an extraordinary meeting. And one of the statements they made is that there's no place in this country, in the lower 48, where you can't get access to good foods. It's not easy access, as had been in the past, and that's been...
Yeah, again, completely disassociated from reality of the average American. Yes, Caitlin, you're right. He's born into not just privilege, but extreme privilege. So what does he care about the single mom, whoever in whatever city and town? He doesn't. RFK also told Caitlin that they will be replicating past studies. Now, she asked the right question: why they needed to replicate studies. What about fraud, waste, and abuse? Play that clip.
We will have some studies completed by September. And those studies will mainly be replication studies of studies that have already been done. We're also deploying new teams of scientists, 15 groups of scientists. We're going to send those grants out to bid within 3 weeks.
Why would you replicate studies that have been done?
Because the only way you can get good science is through replication. If you don't have replication, you don't know whether other scientists looking at the same data will arrive at the same conclusion. Good science always includes replication. In fact, we're changing the procedures at NIH so that up to 20% of the funding at NIH is for replication. If you don't have replication, you have incentives to cheat. And there's a lot of cheating that goes on in science.
Okay, but...
Yeah, let me also say what I believe that they want to do. They want to bring on scientists that are going to ascribe to their ideology, and that they're going to do these tests, these replicated tests, and rewrite the results. That's what I believe that they're going to do. Caitlin also asked RFK about his claims that people shouldn't listen to him on medical issues. And they went down this rabbit hole where he ultimately ended up claiming that people should be skeptical of authority. Play that clip.
And what President Biden did wrong. What I'm saying to you...
But I want to get back to what your comment was about that. You said that people should not take your medical advice.
Yeah,
that's your position?
Yeah, absolutely. People should not be taking medical advice. I'm somebody who is not a physician, but they should also be skeptical about any medical advice. They need to do their own research. You know, you're a mom. If you're a mom, you do your own research on your baby carriage, on your baby bottles, on your baby formula.
But they don't have medical degrees, obviously. If you're a mom and you're looking at what science has been tested, they trust their doctors and their pediatricians.
One of the responsibilities of living in a democracy where Physicians and every sort of expert are subject to all kinds of biases. One of the responsibilities of living in a democracy is to do your own research and to make up your own mind.
So that's your message to moms or to anyone, is to do your own research.
I would say be skeptical of authority. My father told me that when I was a young kid. People in authority lie. And we've seen a lot of that in our country. And people in the media lie. And people need to make their own judgments and be skeptical and maintain their capacity for critical thinking. And that was shut down during COVID. And the media was complicit in that.
Disagree on that last part. Secretary Kennedy, thank you for your time.
Good to meet you, Caitlin.
You know, I had RFK Jr. on my podcast, Mea Culpa, and he spewed the same sort of stupidity and bullshit. Just imagine you go to the dentist, which is what I had said to him during the podcast. And the dentist turns around and tells you, you got a cavity. He turns around and he says, yeah, but I don't really feel pain. No, you definitely have a cavity. Well, how do you know? I don't know. The x-ray shows it. You see that little black spot, that little hole? Now you're not going to lose the tooth, but we're going to have to drill it and we're going to have to, we're going to have to fill it. What RFK is telling you here, that you should be skeptical of something like that, even though you're not a dentist. You basically go to the dentist. You should be skeptical of when you go to the pediatrician, when you go to your allergist, when you go to any doctor. Yeah, makes perfect sense. Because you're the one that actually went to medical school. You're the one that made the appointment to go see somebody who you need to be skeptical of. I like Caitlin's point that don't we have a right within which to trust our medical providers? Not in his position. That was the same argument that I had with him on the podcast. Now, early in the day, the commission report event, it didn't produce any more substantial insight. Zilch. So, of course, Trump started off the meeting on a serious note, teasing RFK. Play the clip.
Anywhere in the world, actually. And I've been a fan of Bobby for years. He came up to see me 13, 14, 15 years ago, I remember, and he left. And I made a couple of the statements that he made because I agreed with the same thing, and we both went through hell. Do you remember that? It was a massive, but you know what? We turned out to be right. It was sort of interesting. But I've been a friend of Bobby, and he's been a foe, too. He's tried to stop a couple of my jobs. In one case,
Yeah. I remember that. It had to do with a real estate deal. But Trump finally turned to the issue at hand. And he spoke about autism, something the man knows absolutely nothing about. He's wrong in every single respect. But he touted the claim that it is affected by environmental factors. Play the clip.
When you hear 10,000, it was 1 in 10,000, and now it's 1 in 31 for autism. I think that's just a terrible thing. It has to be something on the outside. It has to be artificially induced. Has to be. And we'll not allow our public health system to be captured by the very industries it's supposed to oversee. So we're demanding the answers. The public is demanding the answers, and that's why we're here. Already we're phasing out 8 of the most common artificial food dyes.
Yeah. Look, I have no problem with getting rid of food dyes, but when Trump starts speaking about autism, I remember we had this conversation going back many years ago. I think it was somewhere around 2010, when he started the same stupidity, and friends of ours, mutual friends of both Trump's and mine, reached out to him. They're involved heavily with a group called Autism Speaks and said, Mr. Trump, do you realize that you just set Autism Speaks back somewhere between 5 to 10 years by making the statement that it is these outside factors? It is not. It is not. They have research that explains why there is an increase in autism. It has to do with a genetic mutation. The genetic mutation happens to result from the male sperm, and it generally occurs when you start seeing elder men having children much later on in life. That's where it comes from. Had they done even the slightest bit of research? But no, They're going to try to redo this research again after so many years, millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars invested in this research. He believes something different with no knowledge whatsoever. Therefore it is. Meanwhile, he then goes and he starts rambling about drug prices, stating that a whole host of numbers, maybe, I don't know, he was doing some sort of mental math. Play the clip.
Nasty about it, because these people are almost sort of afraid of them. And we are going to now get a reduction in drug costs of up to 89% in some cases, but 50% would be a bad number. So think of that, 50% versus 1/4%. Think of that, 85, 89, 91, 72%. It's going to be massive numbers. It's going to be incredible for Medicaid, incredible for all forms of healthcare. Medicare is going to have a huge impact, so big that nobody can calculate it. I mean, this thing could drop by 25, 30%. The drugs are a very big part of it, right? So very big part. So it'll affect everything. It'll affect your whole life. The amount of money you're going to be saving is going to be incalculable.
Unbelievable. 2, 8, 10, 12, 1, 1. 1 is the magic number 1. What is he, fucking Sesame Street? Now, I'm just shocked that fucking Cookie Monster didn't come out and give the guy a big chocolate chip cookie and tell him, okay, Mr. President, you relax now. Why don't you put your head down on this pillow and go to sleepy, right? Now, lastly, Trump said that he would threaten. Imagine this. He goes on and he says that he's going to threaten foreign countries on behalf of the drug companies. Play that clip.
Strength and a lot of power, because you have to implement it, because these countries are going to go down fighting. They don't want this to happen because they're going to go up. Now, there are many more people involved in the world than there are here. So they'll go up a little bit, maybe 15, 20%, and we're going to go down 60, 70, or 80%. But they will fight the drug companies. The drug companies are very worried that they're going to fight, and that's okay. If they fight, we'll just say, that's okay. We are not going to let you sell any more cars into the United States, or we're not going to let you sell any more wine or liquor or alcohol or something that's actually much more important to them than the drugs. And we're going to be able to force that issue if we need to.
Yeah, and if that doesn't work, we'll just send some drones in and we'll blow the fucking place up, right? Talk about cosplaying. I mean, this is some stupid stuff. Does he not realize that these drug pharmaceutical companies are private, or I should say some of them are publicly traded companies, and whether they're in Germany or Mexico or anywhere in the world, the UK, you're going to turn and tell them that we're now going to tax your vehicles, which is also not owned by the government. He just doesn't seem to understand, right, that there's something called global markets. That's great. So now we're not going to end up with their cars, and we're not going to end up with their medication. Job well done, sir. Job well done. And it's why I turn around and I say to you, please help me to build this community, because only by building this community do we put this sort of stupidity to sleep. And that's not even coming with a drug. And as always, thanks for listening. Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.